there, and welcome to the channel. I'm Cassidy Cash, and this is the place where we talk about history, specifically what was going on in the world between 1564 and 1616, and that's the life of William Shakespeare. I love to show you where history is reflected in Shakespeare's plays, and we talk a lot about games, recipes, and crafts from the 16th and 17th century. If that sounds like your cup of tea, or perhaps your mug of mead, then hit that like and subscribe button because we're here every week. Recently, someone asked me about the origin of the phrase fast and loose. And you may know it means to play things a little shady, and we can thank Shakespeare at least in part for why we still have this phrase in the English lexicon today. But to find out the history behind this phrase, we're diving into the 17th century and exploring a game called Fast and Loose. That's what's happening right now on That Shakespeare Life. In Shakespeare's play Antony and Cleopatra, Antony says, "Like a right gypsy hath at fast and loose beguiled me to the very heart of loss." It comes up again in King John when King Philip uses the phrase to say, "Play fast and loose with fate, so jest with heaven." The last two references to fast and loose from Shakespeare's plays are both from Love's Labour's Lost, including when Costard says, "To sell a bargain well is as cunning as fast and loose." All of these references are talking about playing fast and loose, and you might be able to derive that playing fast and loose means to trick somebody or to be a little shady with your dealings. But did you know that the phrase was more than just an expression? It's actually based on a real game that was played by con men from Shakespeare's lifetime. The game could be played with all kinds of materials, but the basic play was intended to take a belt or a piece of rope and wind it into a coil that forms two identical loops laid one over the top of the other. The con artist would challenge a spectator to place a stick inside the loop that the spectator thought was the true center loop. If it was the true center loop, then when the two ends of the loops are pulled, the rope could wrap around and hold fast to the stick. However, if the spectator chose poorly, then when the end was pulled, the rope would come loose and let go of the stick. The trick here is that the rope can always be pulled two ways. So the con artist could always pull the rope in a way where it would let the stick loose, meaning the game was rigged and the con artist was always going to win. To make things worse, the con artist would often plant people in the crowd to pretend to play the game and let them win at it, so that other spectators would be encouraged to play or inspired to try their hand at the game. These people would often play to the crowd by offering advice on how to win and say things like, "You can get it if you know what to look for." Shakespeare's use of the phrase in his plays suggests that this kind of con was relatively well established by the 16th century. Further investigation into the phrasing by Shakespeare reveals even more history because Antony is talking about the phrase fast and loose, and he specifically says, "like a right gypsy," and talks about playing fast and loose. This reference is to the fact that gypsies were travelers who were known to make money on con games like fast and loose. As a side note, the term gypsy originates from the Middle Ages, and it's the Middle English word gypsian, which was short for Egyptian, which stems from a common thought in the Middle Ages that the Romany people were itinerant Egyptians or people from Egypt that just ended up traveling around. That's what they thought. That helps explain why Shakespeare has Mercutio refer to Cleopatra as a gypsy in Romeo and Juliet. So, why do we still use this phrase today? Well, linguists tell us that Shakespeare didn't actually come up with this phrase. It's not one of the things he invented, citing primary sources that use the phrase before Shakespeare did in his plays. For example, there's an Act of Parliament of Scotland from March of 1575 that offers a fine for people playing games that include fast and loose. They list other things like juggling or doing magic tricks, and they fined them up to £5 for playing this game. So that's one place where fast and loose was already in existence before Shakespeare was using it in his plays. But while Shakespeare didn't come up with the expression, the popularity and enduring consumption of his works can be credited with why the phrase survived and persists as a popular one in our current vocabulary. So thank you, Shakespeare. As time went on, the game came to be known by other phrases as well, including pricking the garter and on the barrelhead. So if anyone you know comes up and asks you to play any version of this game, you'll now know the inside secret so you don't get taken on a bet. That's it for this week. Thank you for watching. I'm Cassidy Cash, and I hope you learned something new about the Bard. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.